Today on the show,
Wait a minute, hold on. This is the bad place.
Hello there, and welcome to The Lost Cantina, the podcast that explores the stories, characters, and themes of our favorite galaxy far, far away. I'm Connor.
I'm Kevin,
and I'm Jaden.
a demon in
Lord of the
disguise.
Sith.
What? No.
Oh, man. And Jaden had us all fooled. We thought he was a clever, clumsy, bumbling comedic relief guy, but no, he was a cold-blooded butcher this whole time.
It was me all along. And by me, I mean Manny Jacinto, because he's fucking awesome.
Oh my
and I
fucking
love
god,
him.
dude. Okay, well, before we we haven't even given the spoiler warning yet, but goddamn, this episode 5 of the Acolyte, titled Night. Simply Night. The last one was called Day. This one's called Night.
Yep.
This one should have been called Darth Bicep, because holy shit.
Day
The
and
memes
night.
are wonderful.
What?
What is your arm workout? I need it.
Yeah, this dude is ripped. So, yeah, well, as always, if you've been listening to the show, you understand by now we're going to break down the episode, react to it, our thoughts on it. This one was a doozy, man. We're all shooketh. We're all blown away by this one. But yes, I mean, we've kind of already breached the seal, but you should be aware that there will be heavy spoilers up ahead for episode 5 of the Acolyte. If you haven't watched it yet, I've already been spoiled. I gotta call out the Nerdist right now. Fuck the Nerdist, because they were doing Facebook posts like with spoilers right there in the text of the post. Like, dude, it hasn't even fucking been a week. Can you chill out, please? Because I didn't watch it the first night. It was my mistake. I guess I fucked up by not watching it the exact first night I could.
With the modern media day and age, you have to watch it within 4.5 seconds of it coming out. Otherwise, we have full right to spoil you.
Look, no, Jaden,
fuck that. Why should I have to change? Why can't other people just not be assholes? Why do I have to adjust to that behavior?
To ask. The Zoomers have the TikTok, and they're sending out the fucking death threats.
No, hold on a second.
Man.
Freeze, full stop. Jaden, you're giving him shit for not watching it right away when you were texting me being like, oh, it's kind of late. I think I'm just going to go to bed. And I literally texted you, and I quote, don't be a bitch. It's worth staying up.
I work 2 jobs and record this shit. I have to
and you watched it, and it was worth it.
I'm going to watch it in the morning. That's all I'm saying.
Look, here's the deal, guys. If you haven't realized, this episode's the tits. It's great. It's a good episode. It's chock full of action.
Since we're exposing things that we sent to each other, my first statement to Kevin after I did watch the episode was the meme of Stringer Bell saying, I want you to tell the boys we're back up.
This episode was phenomenal.
We are back in on the Acolyte. We were skeptical. You can go back and listen, but we are back in now.
Hey, easy on the we. I was sold from episode 1, man. I was into it.
I made that TikTok because at first I was gonna say you're a bitch, but then I remembered that your mom's a hoe, and I was like, I'm gonna say that, and I had to, because if you don't like this episode, your mom's a hoe, because literally you're just a fucking loser. I'm sorry. Like,
this was a good one. This was a really good one.
Personal. Yeah. So before we go crazy into it, we gotta do that housekeeping. So of course you guys can email us at thelostcantinapod@gmail.com. Tell us what you think of this episode. Tell us what you think about the Acolyte. Let's talk about biceps and your workout routine. Jaden and I would love that. We both want some new workout routines. Let's go. Connor, I'm going to get you to go to the gym with us. It's going to happen.
You do realize, you live in Nebraska, man.
I don't care. I'll take my run. I'll take my run all the way to Ohio.
And I live in a state of euphoria after seeing some of the best lightsaber fights we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was sick.
Basically, if you haven't already guessed, we really liked this episode. So we're going to get into it. But first, we're going to hear from our sponsors.
Okay, we're back, and we're picking up with episode 5 of the Acolyte, which starts us off right where episode 4 left off. If you recall from episode 4, the bad guy shows up. The Jedi move to engage him, and they, unknown at this point, unleashes a just monstrously powerful force repulse, basically, a giant wave that knocks everyone back. And Osha comes to in the dirt and immediately sees a dead Jedi near her. This is one of the several Jedi that accompanied the, Sol and Jackie Yord to planet Kofar, who, we didn't really get to know them at all. We never heard their names. And I was like, I know red shirts when I see them.
Yeah, right. What's funny is this made me think of Helldivers because they're in a giant forest. There's those little spore pod things that you walk over.
The moths.
They explode. Yeah. Well, no, those little spore pod things on the ground that
those two
make you slow you down. Those are everywhere. People are screaming and dying in the forest. I was like, my leg, all right, there you go.
Yeah. So shit's going down. Osha sees a dead Jedi from one of the disposable, expendable,
the red shirts.
Anonymous Jedi. And she looks over and sees the rest of them engaged in a desperate struggle with the dark sider who is attacking.
Remember how we speculated that it would be like a cool predator, pick them off one by one thing? Yeah, fuck that. We don't got time.
I mean, he does pick them off one by one and just keeps
not
killing them.
Just not stealth.
He does that saber pull where he stabs the one Jedi and then he uses the Force and pulls another Jedi into the lightsaber behind them.
Ridiculous,
bro! What the fuck? That was
fucking
sick.
cool. That was after. Okay, I get to have my Legends lore moment.
Yep.
They brought Cortosis back into the canon because several times when the Jedi went to swing, the Sith Lord, he would block it with either a gauntlet or he would just straight up headbutt a fucking lightsaber.
Yep.
He headbutted a lightsaber and it shut the fuck down.
Do you guys?
Because it's made of Cortosis, which is a material that is different than Beskar. It is a material that not only can block lightsaber blasts, but it shorts out lightsabers. It is so fucking cool to see it used this way because it's not a full suit of armor like this happened in other canon books and stuff. This is just little pieces that he's using as a tactical advantage to not slow him down.
I think he has one on his gauntlet too.
Yeah, he's got a gauntlet.
It's like a bracer.
It's
a bracer on his left forearm and his helmet. Yeah.
Have you guys noticed the lightsabers are really thick? They're really
So yeah, I mentioned
really
that in the first episode. I think it's
we talked about that. Yeah.
I don't know. They're beefier.
That's the thing is I didn't really notice it because I knew you guys said that, and I was like, okay, all right. And then this episode, I really know because they focused on those lightsabers turning off. But I also noticed it didn't. This is some of the best lightsaber combat that Disney has put out, and now you know how the combat, even I won't say even like Ahsoka, but you know how the combat, the blades feel like they're actually heavy, like they have some weight to it. It was weird because the hilts are really big in this, but it doesn't feel heavy at all. They're going, man. They are.
Yeah, they're going fast.
It was fast. I liked it. I thought it was good. Cinematography was also very good. No shaky cams. We got pretty steady cams to be able to watch the action. Felt like a Jackie Chan movie where a lot of the times we didn't get cuts, which was nice. We just kept seeing it in the scene. And that was it. It was really nice.
One of the comments that I saw was that these characters actually felt like they were trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it, because some of the dare I say complaints that people have about the prequel trilogy combat is that it felt more like it was flow and form versus actual combat.
Yeah.
Just more stylistic,
more of a
versus
dance,
actually trying to kill. Yeah, more like a dance.
It was like fencing, where you can tell they're aiming for each other's blades and not each other. Yeah. But here you can tell the combatants are setting up kill shots, going for kill shots on each other, and it was awesome. A lot of fun to see.
So Yord intervenes and tries to save one of the Jedi, but obviously they all die. This guy takes 7 Jedi by himself and just fucks them all up.
The ones we don't get to know, I think there was a total of maybe 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then all that's left is Yord, Jackie and Sol, who we haven't seen yet. They got blown past Kelnaka's house and Osha, so it's just Osha and Yord right now.
So Yord says, "Get out of here. Let's let's go." So he ends up like meeting up with her, and they're like trying to escape. And while they're trying to escape, we see May inside the house, and she's freaking out. Like originally, she wanted to get captured, right?
Yep.
She wanted to turn herself into the Jedi.
Yeah. Because she thought the Jedi were going to protect her. Clearly, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, so earlier, Kamir warned her, hey, the Master's not going to be happy about this. And she's all like, well, he'd have to come find me. He came and found you. So, yeah. They start running through the woods. They run into Soul, who, kind of intervenes again and saves them from the bad guy. I'm going to call him Sharky just because of the shark teeth on his mask.
Dude, that helmet is so fucking cool.
It's sick,
so
dude.
awesome.
It looks fucking awesome. The teeth, the whole did you see the Kylo Ren style cracks in there though?
Yep.
And I don't know if you guys heard it. Did you hear the Kylo Ren theme?
That's what people were talking about. We might be seeing the formations of the Knights of Ren. Like this might be one of the. I mean, if they say like, "Oh, this is Darth Ren," I'm gonna be like, "All right, yep, there it is." Like next episode.
That's a weird time gap to have between the start and the. I mean, it's like thousands of years, like hundreds of years between this and the Knights of Ren. That'd be crazy.
So,
but I could see it trying to connect.
Yeah,
trying to build those.
Like
those
this could
ties.
be the inspiration of it later down the road.
Yeah. I can see that. Now, don't forget, we see May steal a lightsaber from a corpse.
From Kalnaka's lightsaber.
Yes. And that's the thing is, it's interesting because she takes the lightsaber, but like, does she know how to use it? That was my question. Does she know how to use it? You're going to take the weapon, but do you even know where the button is to turn it on?
I mean, it's probably pretty intuitive. You just figured out. I mean,
then she looks down the saber hole and was like, "What the fuck?" Is this trying to...
Accidentally puts her eye out.
Like that photo of like that they photoshopped of Luke. You ever seen that Photoshop of Luke at Obi-Wan's house just like killing himself and everyone being like, shit.
All right. So basically Jackie comes in and she starts fighting her.
It's Jackie.
And it's Jackie.
Jackie, sorry.
Jackie.
Don't worry, you won't have to say her name for much longer.
Yeah, so basically they end up going toe to toe, and she's trying to arrest May. She's listing out all the people that she's killed, but May doesn't say a word. She doesn't deny killing Kalnaka because she didn't. She doesn't deny it. She just doesn't.
She's basically giving her like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now? We're all going to die."
Well, the other thing too is, doesn't she want to get captured? Right?
Yeah,
like that
I thought so.
But then it's like the reason she wanted to get captured was because she thought the Jedi were going to protect her. Well, guess fucking what? They're all fucking dying. So it's like, oh, maybe they can't protect me. Maybe I was mistaken. I just got to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
So,
gotta hand it to Jackie though. She's handling May tossing her around, like barehanding her into submission, basically getting cuffs on her. That was a lot of fun to watch too.
That sequence of her getting the cuffs on was great.
That was awesome.
Now the other thing though, did you notice? So you're saying, oh wow, she's holding up, on par with May, but everybody's always now complaining about May, right? They're saying, oh, how did she kill a Jedi? How did she kill? She's clearly able to go toe to toe with a Padawan easily, no problem. So like she's very skilled. Like we know, like that, like it just helps prove the point of how skilled she is and how like killing Jedi is like, might be a lot easier.
Let's take a quick score count. Kalnaka she didn't actually kill. Yes. Torben she just convinced to poison himself, and Indara
not even convinced. She was just like, "Hey, here you go, pal."
Yeah, she just let him poison himself. Basically, didn't even really. And then Indara, she again, I'll reiterate this, a very important point. She killed because she threatened a bystander to get past her defenses. She didn't actually kill Indara in a straight on toe to toe fight, and I personally believe she wouldn't have been able to if there were no bystanders around for Indara to kind of let her defenses slip. I don't think May would have won that fight. And so, and even here, she doesn't manage to get away from Jackie. Like a Padawan captures her basically. But then, of course, Sharky shows up, engages Jackie, and May takes that opportunity to escape. So, yeah, of course, May is capable, resourceful, but she hasn't actually won a fair fight yet that we've seen. Like, obviously, she won the fight with Indara, but kind of had to cheat to do so, basically. Yeah. So she does manage to escape, and but Sharky though is honed in on her. He's like coming after her specifically. Like every time if he squares off with Jackie or Soul, he's fighting them off so that he can chase May. Like he doesn't seem concerned with killing the Jedi who oppose him directly. He's just kind of he's on a mission, one track mind.
So now we get to where Soul shows up. He's trying to actually protect May. He really shows like, I want to protect her. I want to do the right thing. And like, I was like, hey, May, does this not prove to you this guy's trying to save you? And
also Osha, he's prioritizing Osha's safety too by directly ordering Yord, hey, get her to the ship, get her out of here.
He force pushes her civilian to the ship. He force
tosses her.
Yord. Yeah. And Yord almost stabs her, by the way. I noticed that. He's got his lightsaber a little too nonchalantly. You know, he's brandishing his weapon a little too easily. But
good news, you won't have to deal with his incompetence for much longer.
Stop it.
So what happens is Soul calls this guy out. He's like, what the fuck are you? You have a Jedi weapon. Like, what's going? Take your helmet off. Let's see your face. And
he says, you feel familiar.
Yeah. He goes, don't you recognize me? And he's like, you feel familiar. And he's like, take your helmet off, whatever. And he's like, and let you read my thoughts? No. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, let's go.
This dude was so creepy and menacing. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
It was so fun.
And what I think it was really interesting was like, I thought it called out the fact that Jedi are using the Jedi mind trick so fucking much in this show. And I said it even in the first episode. So I thought that was nice it was like, oh, he's like Magneto. Cool. That's what it was like. But after that, then we get a little bit of more explanation because then we go to, well, first Soul calls him out. Is like, what kind of master doesn't show himself, you know, to
show his face to his pupil.
His pupil. And he's like, oh, what about you? You're not showing your true self, kind of thing. Calls him out. So then we get to Osha, and Yord says how this guy was able to get in his head. He's like, he won't leave me alone. He's like in my head. And she says, oh, like, you know, my mom could get into a Jedi's head. I've seen it. People can do it. And that's where I was like, okay, is there a connection? Is this us getting, you know, spoon-fed the connection from the witches? Maybe, kind of, I don't know. But I found that to be kind of interesting because it was like, okay, so he can still use his powers to go out of the helmet, which I didn't think was possible, but I guess now it is.
There's some foreshadowing happening here with both, you know, Sharky teasing Soul about his own hidden past and Soul, you know, sensing familiarity, and also, Osha's hint like, oh, well, the witches of Brendok were able to do what he's able to do. So yeah, well, I'm sure the next couple episodes are gonna unfold some big plot elements.
Yep.
But in the meantime, so Yord and Osha are running back to the ship, but obviously Osha seems hesitant to abandon her Jedi friends.
So May is now still fighting Jackie and finally gets the handcuffs on her. And when she does, all of a sudden we see this figure running towards her, because basically what happens is he disappears from Soul. He's like, fuck you, I gotta go get my little one, my acolyte, and goes, and then she starts fighting him. And she notices, she's like, oh, you stole Master Kalnaka's lightsaber, what the fuck's wrong with you? And she takes it. So now she has two blades. She uses her own blade, fights this guy, gets her shit rocked, right? She's like, what the fuck? And she's on the ground, and he says to her, he goes, May, you can learn from this Padawan. She's a loyal pupil, and like keeps fighting and shit. And you're like, oh fuck, oh my god. But then he cuts her lightsaber in half. And we see Jackie look at her lightsaber, and you see the Kyber crystal, the green crystal. It's kind of fucking cool. Because she's using dual blade, and she's like doing it. She you know, because he fucks up her one lightsaber, and then she brings her another. It was fucking sick. It was really fucking cool. Drops it, of course, and then runs back because he's gone. He's chasing May. May starts booking it. Like, that's all May does this whole episode, is just keep fucking booking it, trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
But his mind powers are so good. Like, we start getting like these weird, like, super close-ups of his mask. And he's just like, why are you leaving? Oh, you're weak. You're running. And you're like, oh, fuck, what the hell? Like these flashes. So we see what he's been doing to all the Jedi while he's fighting them, which I thought was really, his mind powers are really fucking cool. And he's like still chasing her. And we see him use his force powers to like jump, kind of like he moves very ethereally, like, you know what I mean? Like he looks kind of like fluid motion. It was fucking cool to watch him use his powers.
There's a thing in old canon in EU called battle meditation. And there's my theory is that this might be a different form of battle meditation, just one where, because in the old canon, battle meditation was something that like a Jedi or Sith would like be locked in a room and they would be coordinating the battle with their thoughts and their vibes and their Jedi Force or Sith Force powers. This might be a different version where it's like we're just gonna send some fucking spam into the heads of our enemies while we're fighting them, and just fucking drop a little fear gas, little scarecrow fear toxin into their brain holes while they're trying to fight me.
I mean, that's the impression I've always gotten from like the lore surrounding just force powered lightsaber combat in general. Like when a Jedi and a Sith duel, or a Jedi and just some dark side user duel, the battle is mental just as much as it is physical. Like they are feeding off each other's energies, and the force kind of like it's all about anticipating each other's movements. That's why, obviously a non-force sensitive person can use a lightsaber, but to be a master of it, you kind of have to have force sensitivity to duel effectively with it.
Yeah.
So no, he just seems to take that philosophy to he's mastered it. He's mastered the art of overpowering your opponent mentally as much as physically.
Yeah. Soul is really cool with this because his blade goes out, because the helmet, but then he like is able to kind of subdue this person really quickly.
Dude, I lost my mind.
And he kicks him.
Yeah. This fight put my jaw on the floor. Like I love this fight so much. The second that Soul's lightsaber shorts out, he no hesitation whatsoever. He doesn't miss a beat. Just starts throwing hands instantly. And like he like gives this guy a fucking 3-piece. Just bam, 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 like knocks his ass back on his ass. And dude, it was so much fun to watch.
It was cool too because then Jackie comes out. Now I want to say this. So I will say I did see something similar discussion on Reddit about this, but I thought it was really fucking cool because the way Soul takes him out is really dope. And then Jackie comes and she knows to get rid of the helmet. She keeps bashing on the helmet and she understands, it's causing them issues, right? And it shows to me, and like, because Yord does something similar, and we'll get to that when he shows up, but the fact that she knows what to go for and all that stuff, and they're already able to quickly, the fact that Soul's able to quickly do that, like you said, it shows to me that even though they may not, we don't know what kind of combat they actually see. Like we're assuming that they don't really see much combat. There's no war. There's none of that kind of shit. But they're in
the way that they were talking.
Right?
The way they were talking was that it seemed like, because Yord said something to the effect of like, he doesn't follow the rules of combat. So I think that for the last,
it doesn't. He calls it it.
It does. Sorry, he calls it it, which is interesting because of later on.
Yeah.
But he says like it doesn't follow the rules of combat, which makes me think that I'm gonna go back to the EU one more time. So once upon a time, Luke Skywalker and his son Ben Skywalker encountered a group of Sith who were isolated from the galaxy for like hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And when they encountered them in combat, they realized that the Sith fought very predictably because for the last however many years that they were isolated, the only opponents that they had to fight were each other.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're seeing here is the inverse of that, where for a millennium, the Jedi have only ever fought each other in lightsaber combat.
In sparring.
So they're not used to as someone who has a completely different and aggressive form of lightsaber combat. They're just thrown completely out of whack.
Sharky's movements and techniques also, like, they seem unorthodox and like very chaotic. Like I'm seeing when I was watching the choreo, I'm a sucker for fight choreography. I love fighting and choreography, and like so watching his movements, I saw elements of like I saw a little bit of Form 2 Makashi, which is like the dueling form that Count Dooku was famous for being a master of. But I also saw bits and pieces of like, Juyo and Gemso. Like it seems like he has bits and pieces of the more aggressive and like fluid and acrobatic, and also but a bit of the balanced and forms of lightsaber combat that the Jedi all know. And so like, but he's like, mixed it with just utilitarian, like street fighting techniques almost. Like that's probably what Yord means. Like he doesn't like engage you 1-to-1. He kind of floats around your defenses, and it's
his form is all over the place.
All over the place, yes.
It's fluid and savage at the same time.
Exactly.
And that makes it unpredictable. But what I will say is I think it shows the fact, back to what I was saying too, is Jackie and Jackie and
you won't have to worry about saying it right long.
Basically, the fact that they are able to do what they're doing fighting him shows that they are still in tune with the battlefield, right? Like they are able to understand what's going on. And what she does is she gets the helmet off, and then you see her think she gets one blade, her blade is up against his, and you think she's like just basically just gonna be, in a standoff with him. But then he pulls some fucking Cal Kestis shit and splits his blade off, and then we just see behind her just 3 red holes, just boop, 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 real fast. Like I'm talking like like done.
Just
like
pulls
out a Shoto saber and just
and the reveal of who it is.
It's all about.
Oh my god.
Jackie falls, she's pierced 3 times, and as Sharky lowers his blade, we see that it's none other than Kamir himself. I mean, who saw that coming?
Yeah.
My god.
No way.
Now before this, I will say we do have some screams and stuff going on. We have Osha and we have Yord running back to the ship, and they are where the bugs are, the moth creatures.
By this time, Osha has convinced Yord to go back and help Jackie because they heard her in distress, and Osha has the idea to get the Umbra moths, the giant bugs living in the canopies, to follow them back with her by using her flashlight. And Yord arrives, right after this. Well, okay, so Jackie goes down. Kamir is revealed as the Sith, so I gotta mea culpa here really quick. I gotta own up to something. I've been kind of theorizing and saying this whole time that we don't know this guy's a Sith, and to be fair, he doesn't technically claim the title. He just says, "I am what you might call Sith."
Yes.
Like he.
Well, hold on. So there's a couple quotes with this scene. The first thing is.
I called it, and I was right myself for Star Wars. I win.
Soul yells her name out, his Padawan, and the first thing out of this person, Kamir, its name was that its name? And you're like, oh fuck! And he goes, she was just a child, and he looks at her and goes, you brought her here, and I was like, oh fuck! And then we get Osha showing up, and May is there, and his personality switch is, I mean, what a great fucking villain. Like the personality where he just squishes and goes, oh, hey, what's going on? And then he just turns and looks serious again. I was like, oh, fuck. Like, oh my God. So the quote he says, because they're like, what the fuck? Like you said, Connor, what the fuck are you? Like, we don't know what you are.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't own up to being a Sith. He doesn't technically own up to being a Sith. He says, I have no name but a Jedi, like you might call me Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean he is a Sith. Like, it just means, like, you might call me a Sith because I'm just a dark side user. Like, it's very much implied, like,
I guess the reason I split hairs on this, the reason I kind of, like, get, in the weeds with what is a Sith and what isn't, is because when I think of a Sith Lord, I associate that with, like, the lineage, the organization. Like, if you claim the title of Sith Lord, you are in the long line of, the rule of 2 tradition dating back to Darth Bane and the Sith Empire before him. And so, like, when I think of a Sith Lord, I think of, like, oh, you have a grand plan, a motive, like, leading downward to Tenebris, Plagueis, Palpatine, Sidious. But, like, it seems like he's more of just doing his own thing. He doesn't seem to have, like, a grand Sith plan that he well, we don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't claim the title, but, like, he fits the mold. Obviously, he fits the stereotype for sure.
To your point, Connor, I did see someone online said, what if at the end of the show, Kamir just gets killed by an actual real Sith out of nowhere?
That'd be crazy. That'd be cool.
I was like, that'd be kind of cool just to watch him just get complete. Kind of like in the Clone Wars when we saw Palpatine go up against Savage Opress and Maul at the same time, and he just wiped the fucking floor with them.
Yeah,
because of how fucking powerful he was compared to the two of them. Like that would be something kind of. I like to see that.
When you think you're hot shit and you find out you're actually a poser.
It's like he's like, what if at the end of the day he's the acolyte all along?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he was
because
part of the rule of 2 with Sith is like you're supposed to train an apprentice to take you down.
Yes.
So maybe this was maybe Kamir was training May to be the apprentice that would help him take his master down.
That's a time-honored Sith tradition as well.
He does say that he wants his he wants his apprentice. I think it's the term he said. He says he wants his acolyte. Because the thing is, like, if he claims that he's a Sith, right? Because Soul's like, why reveal yourself right now? And he goes, well, I did wear a mask, which I thought was really funny.
That was great.
Funny. Yeah. But he then says, he goes, I don't make the rules. The Jedi do. The Jedi say I can't exist. They see my face. They all die. And that's the thing, too, here, by the way, for everybody's being like, oh, my God, it broke canon last episode. They said, oh, you know, the Jedi, shut the fuck up, man. He's clearly going to kill everybody. That's the whole fucking point, is he kills everybody so they don't know. They're like, oh, wow, somebody died. We don't know what happened.
I think we predicted that like episode 1 or 2. We were like, oh,
it's just kind of like, you know. But now, after this, he's holding May. He's like got a lightsaber ready on her fucking head, like about to fucking just ignite it. And he looks like a badass. His outfit is sick. This is one of the coolest. It's kind of Ben Solo-esque, by the way. It's done really well. It's done really fucking well. He looks jacked. He looks like a fucking threat.
Yeah.
So he's holding her and he's ready to kill her. But then Yord shows up. Now, Yord, another one, this is what he does where I think he was reading the battlefield, right? He grabs the helmet and uses it as a shield. And he fucks up his other lightsabers. Like, he's like, yeah, I know. I'm not going to... He disables
his lightsaber, yeah, with the helmet.
But the problem here is they may be reading the battlefield very well. And they may be knowing, like, trying to keep up, right? And knowing what they need to do. But they are underestimating their opponent's abilities and what their opponent's capable of, because Yord is then kicked to the ground and has his neck just fucking snap.
They underestimated the power of biceps.
Barehanded him. Yeah.
What? And honestly, at that point, like, I was like, okay.
The Jackie one was shocking. This one was double shocking.
I
was like, oh,
I didn't see this coming.
I thought Yord would die like next episode. Like I was like, oh, so now they've confirmed Jackie. You know, like they're like, oh, cool. They're willing to kill main characters.
Yeah.
I still maintain. I wish we had gotten a little more screen time with them to give a shit more. Like it was a shot. Like the deaths themselves were shocking more because I was like, oh, so we're just not developing these characters anymore. We're done with these characters now.
I think that's ballsy though.
It's very ballsy. Yeah,
you know, they pulled a Bungie, you know, killing Cade. Like they are willing to just kill a main character in a show really early on. Be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
it goes all the way back.
You got to remember, we are like halfway through the season now, so this isn't really early.
You're right.
I think it feels early only because we episode 3 had nothing to do with those characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, the pacing of the show is a little strange, but yeah. Now, Osha goes to shoot because she said, oh, I'm not going to hesitate next time, because May runs off again. And instead of shooting the guy who's been killing everybody, she goes to shoot her fucking sister. I'm sorry, but this was one of those times where I was like, you're a dumbass. This character is an idiot.
Well, think about her personal motivations. Her personal motivations for even being on this planet were to catch her sister. Why the fuck wouldn't she do that while she has the chance? And also knowing that Soul has Sharky handled right now, at least. And yeah, Yor just died, but like, hey, leave the Sith to Soul, and I can stop my sister, which is like my main reason for being here. Yeah. It makes sense, man, if you think about it.
You're right. No, you're right.
Well, so Osha, makes up for her mistake on episode 2, stuns May, drops her. And I'm just really quick. I'm really glad I'm seeing more stun blasters, because like I feel like that's an underutilized thing in Star Wars. Like usually when people shoot each other with blasters, it's lethal. Like we just get the red bolts and people die. But now it's like, and I feel like I haven't seen stun blasters used at all since like episode 4, way back in the first movie ever made where they stun Leia. The stormtroopers do. So I'm like, I'm really glad we're seeing more stun blasters now. I think it's a cool mechanic that we don't use enough.
I agree.
But so, yeah, Soul faces off against Kamir again, and I don't even know what to call him. Just this guy,
Sharky. It's just Sharky.
Sharky. Yeah, he's Sharky. So
Darth Sharky.
Soul manages to get the upper hand. He's obviously grieving his friends, his Padawan. He watched his Padawan die. He watched a knight that he probably helped train as well die, and he gets the upper hand on Sharky. Has him at his mercy. He has the blade at his neck.
They're definitely using force abilities well because it's hand to hand. And you can feel the blows. They're clearly using the force when they're fighting. It was great. Sick. That's the thing though, awesome. Is like I saw a lot of people have complained about the non-lightsaber combat, even in like Ahsoka and stuff. But like you have to realize, like, okay, if a Jedi is just their lightsaber, that's
what use are they?
That's stupid. That's dumb. Yeah. Like they need to be able to handle themselves in hand-to-hand combat as well.
They absolutely
with
should.
Other weapons. Yeah. And so like to be able to see these things when they're disarmed, right? Like to be able to see these things, it's actually fucking cool. This is great. This is good lore that they're like handing us, not just in this show, but in other stuff to showcase like, hey, Jedi need to be able to handle themselves.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
No, I agree, and that reinforces my my stance at this point on this show is that every Jedi should be more like Soul.
Yes,
Soul is like my favorite character in the show because he represents the platonic ideal of a Jedi. He kind of does what they should do, acts like they should act. I mean, I know that he has a big mistake in his past that we're slowly chipping away at, and that he seems to have guilt over, maybe something similar to what Torben was going through. But that aside, I think he represents like what Jedi should aspire to be in terms of like capabilities, but also just his character, his compassion.
Yeah.
But like his compassion is tested here when he basically gets the upper hand in this fight and has his blue lightsaber right at Sharky's neck, and he can go for the killing blow right there. Yeah. But Osha stops him, and I was mad. I was like, you should have just fucking done it, man. End the fight. Like, come on, man. Jedi will take the head off of a Darksider during a fight. That's not against the rules. Yeah, yes, he's technically he's unarmed at that moment.
Yeah,
but he's a threat.
Give him the old Anakin 1-2.
Yeah. Okay, so the Anakin situation was maybe different because like you had Dooku at your mercy. You'd cut his hands off. You'd basically completely disarmed him.
Yeah.
This was different though because you've seen what this guy can do with his bare hands. You've seen how dangerous he is.
I agree.
Why not end the threat and save future lives right now?
Yeah.
And so that's what I was like screaming at
my
TV.
My dude, I wasn't even talking about the Dooku one. That's a great point. I was thinking of any of the fucking other times that he executed people in Clone Wars.
That too. Yeah.
So the one thing that I think Osha says, she tells him stop, but I think Soul gave a good reason. Soul said his mind is twisted by darkness. And I think the response that Sharky gives is, I've accepted my darkness. Mm-hmm. What have you done with yours? And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. And that's when he just kind of like backs off. And it's like, oh, you attacked me from behind. You did these things like, oh, not very Jedi of you. And so when Osha looks at, Soul, she like looks up and she's like, hey, like I brought those fucking moths. And and you see him say, okay, fine. And he lets him get his lightsaber and they kind of trick him. Like, cause Soul's like, all right, whatever, man. Okay, fine. Yeah, get your lightsaber. Yeah, get ready. And again, Osha gets him from behind. She tells Pip, oh, I love you, Pip. And like activates him as a flashlight and slaps him on the back.
It looked like she was sacrificing Pip for that.
Yeah. And so like, it was pretty crazy because then he gets picked up by all these moths and bugs.
They drag him away into the air. It was so cool.
And at that time, when this scene happened, I was disappointed because I was like, oh, fuck, he's dead that quick? What the fuck?
Come on.
Well, guess what? Yeah, no, he ain't dead. He alive. He very much alive.
He's not going out that easy. A bunch of bugs are not eating this guy. That's not how he's going out.
Totally. But clearly here, the hints on the past, all these things like, Osha's like, what does he mean by, this thing? And before he gets knocked out by May, because May knocks him out.
May stun blasts Soul.
It's clear to us we do not know the whole story. I mean, literally what we saw in that one episode, that ain't the whole story. We're gonna get the perspective of the other sister.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, gonna showcase like different people are gonna have different perspectives of the same event, right? So I think
the old saying, there's 3 sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and the truth.
Yep.
And I think we'll get the truth eventually. But yeah, so May stun blasts Soul and takes Osha away, and they have a, meanwhile Sharky's being dragged away by the moths and Soul's taking a dirt nap. May and Osha finally have a heart to heart. They have the first conversation that they've been able to have since they were children, and May seems a little delulu about like, hey, we can be sisters again together, like nothing else matters. And
before we get too far away from it though, I do want to like talk about how fucking awesome it was to see Kamir use the lightsaber as like a fucking gun to May's head.
Oh yeah,
during that whole conversation.
That was hardcore.
It was cool.
I don't want to skip over that because that was so cool to see him just casually holding it up to her head, like I was just like, that's awesome.
This was such a from A to Z, such a well executed villain reveal where like the threat was established so well, and like the compelling presence he brought to every scene, like it was
where
amazing.
was this excellent writing 3 or 4 episodes ago?
Well, speaking of excellent writing, did you guys hear quotes that from Anakin and Obi-Wan in this scene? Because I sure as hell did.
I noticed an Anakin line in
"They've turned you against me."
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's Osha. The line right after, a couple lines later, "You did this to yourself."
Hey man, what does Lucas always say? It's like poetry. It rhymes. It rhymes.
We love you, George.
We love you, George.
But yeah, they had this nice little heart to heart, and both of them are crying and they're hugging and all that, and it's like, oh, okay, all right, cool, we got him back. No, because Osha, in my opinion, is a dipshit again. Yeah, Connor, roll your eyes. I don't care. I think she's an idiot. She's like, I'm gonna arrest you. She like turns on May. I'm gonna arrest you. Da da da. Do you know how easy it is to convince her to go to the ship? By like willingly, then have to fight again. Just get her on the ship, and then if you want to arrest her, be like, how about we do this? Like, talk to her. She's too aggressive. I think she's too aggressive about it.
Kevin, I have a question. I have a question for you. Why do you always expect every character to make like the most optimal, rational decision at all times when they're emotional or stressed? Or like, why do you expect that from every character?
I think because, like, for instance, I've been in situations where like it's hectic as hell, very emotional, and background is, for instance, I was an EMT and a firefighter for a very long time, and I was the first EMT there when my mom had a stroke, and I was like, well, what do I do? And I was like super emotional, but I was like, I have to be, I'm trained to, handle situations and all that, but I was like, I gotta be, I gotta be on top of my shit and handle this and not have my emotions take over and break down. So like, I'm one of those people where it's like, I got a car wreck a couple weeks ago, and I was like, all right, what's the situation? I was like, what's everybody's health like? What's this? And I was like, I don't give a fuck about my car. I don't care about my insurance. I was like, evaluate the situation, right? I just think like, if you're gonna be trained as a Jedi, and like, granted, I know she dropped
out,
then,
dude. She wasn't a Jedi.
I know, but even then, she was going through training. She clearly was old enough to like go through training, and people recognize her and stuff.
Bro, do you know what a character flaw is? I'm sorry.
Yes, I know what a character flaw is. I'm just saying, like, the stakes here are fucking insane.
That's the point.
I know. I just feel
that's the point. The stakes are high, and a character flaw continues the drama and the tension.
I know,
dude. This is story writing 101.
I know, and it drives me crazy.
You're driving me crazy.
But anyway, yeah, she turns on her and she's like, I'm gonna arrest you and all this other shit. And I'm like, all right, whatever, do it. And then she gets her ass beat and gets force pushed and knocked out in one hit.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, she takes like a 2-foot tumble off of a ledge when OSHA shoves her. Or when May shoves her, sorry. And OSHA's like knocked out cold.
Well, it's funny because she's like, "Oh, you are always bad at like what was it blocking?
Blocking. You never could block."
My brain instantly, I heard Team 4-Star Piccolo dodge. Like that was me. That's what I heard. And then, of course, we see May cut her hair to look like OSHA with a lightsaber, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
That was pretty cool. I liked that.
Which, dude, fucking the incels went nuts on that sequence, and it made me laugh so hard because like the old canon way for Jedi to become Knights from Padawan was to fucking cut your fucking Jedi Padawan braid off with a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
I don't understand what there is to be mad about at that. Like that's like one of the oldest traditions they have, and like that's.
The only complaint I had was I was like, well, the length about the same? I hope it is.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't smell burning hair. You don't see the burnt ends. Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, your Soul's in the ship. Like, why do I smell burning hair?
Like this. Well, I will say, I told you guys that tattoo.
I should be smelling burning blood from my Padawan that splashed on me after I failed to protect her.
I told you though that tattoo is gonna come. That's gonna come up
it's
because
be a thing.
It clearly switches sides with OSHA and
takes her clothes and
wakes up Soul, and he's like, "Where's May?" And she's like, "Oh, she escaped." But she's
that
really
darn
stiff.
May got away again.
She's really stiff. You can tell right away because they don't tell you it's her.
Dude, this is an interesting callback to episode 2 where OSHA tries to pretend to be May, and now May's trying to pretend to be OSHA, and like in both cases, they're both really bad at being each other.
Dude, I was really hoping, like, I know it's not because it's a comedy, but it'd be like, oh darn it, May got away, Soul, whatever.
Oh my god.
Where's Jackie? No, her name's Jackie. You know this. So right, sorry.
Yeah, so May approaches Soul as OSHA, and like it's immediately apparent, it's immediately obvious, like, oh my god, like you have no idea how to pretend to be OSHA. It's so funny. But yeah, Soul's like, he's had the wind knocked out of him. He's been through a lot. He's had a long day, so he just kind of goes, okay, well, I guess we better get out of here, OSHA.
And then
it'd be really funny if Soul immediately realized that was May and not OSHA, and just was like, fuck it, I just gotta get one of you off the planet right now. I'll deal with the other one later.
I mean, obviously the tattoo is gonna be the reveal for him.
That's gonna be the reveal.
It probably will be.
It's gonna be the lazy. Like the cooler thing would be like, oh, I knew it was you the whole time. I just wanted to save at least one of you.
Yeah,
I'll come back there later. But like, I know it's gonna be Soul going like, the tattoo's not there. What?
Like, well, we already know somebody is very aware because we have our little muskrat friend who grabs Pip's flashlight and runs to the ship.
Basil grabs Pip's fucking head and is like, this smells different than the other thing.
Yep, they go to the ship, they meet them.
But he doesn't speak basic, so it's gonna be a whole thing.
Yep, he is going crazy about her, and she's clearly like, oh fuck, he knows, but he can't say anything.
Something doesn't smell quite right about you.
Yep. It's the burnt hair.
Probably.
So here's my problem with the switcheroo thing, and I hope it gets addressed immediately in the next episode, is because you can sense presences in the Force, and Soul was very attached to OSHA, so he should be able to immediately sense that that's not her.
Yeah. He again,
like fucking Vader in episode 4 was like, I got vibes of Obi-Wan. That bitch is here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I'll let it slide right now, at least, like in this setting, like at this point in time, just because again, Soul's been through a lot, and like he's gotten knocked around. Having a Sith, quote unquote, in your head,
a bad day.
That's gonna fuck you up. Like he's not on top of this game right
stunned.
now. Yeah, he was stunned too. He just got blasted. Yeah.
So then Sharky shows up, and he's like gliding around. He comes down. He killed all the buggies. He's doing his thing, and he walks over to OSHA, and he clearly knows it's OSHA. We see the tattoo, and that's the reveal of the tattoo. To remind you, don't forget she had a tattoo.
Wait, and OSHA doesn't have the tattoo. May does have the tattoo. To be clear.
Opposite.
No, May has the white tattoo.
OSHA,
I'm sorry. I thought you meant the white one on the forehead.
The arm tattoo.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking because May has the white marking on her forehead.
Connor, how dare you think about the more obvious tattoo on her fucking forehead?
Right.
That's what I've really seen.
Connor, how could you mix up identical twins? What's wrong with you?
I
Even
don't know,
after
man.
she
I'm
cut her
sorry.
hair to look just like her.
No,
I fucked up.
Connor, you totally, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're right. This makes the switcheroo even stupider because she has a fucking forehead tattoo.
Well,
not all twins are identical. Jeez.
She's probably thinking the bangs will do the trick. Like he's
But
not
they
going to
don't
look
do the
past my
trick when
bangs.
you're looking at her.
Yeah.
You can see them.
She'll use product. She'll
conceal.
Yeah,
she runs into Osha's room, puts concealer on real quick.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck.
So yeah, we basically have a Parent Trap situation. The twins have been swapped. Sharky comes across an unconscious Osha dressed as May now, and kind of it's obviously creepy, down note cliffhanger type vibe where he's like, oh well, maybe you'll be my new people. He kind of like has like this collector vibe, like, oh, I'll collect you now.
Well, and I don't know if you noticed, but he uses the Force to heal the wound on Osha's back.
That's right.
Well, because
I did not see that. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, we can't get away from that. The Force healing thing is super easy.
Why would we? It's a great ability.
Yeah.
It's a really useful ability to have.
Yep.
But then the episode ends, and I'm pissed because I want the next one right now.
Yep. It won't be. I'm calling. By the way, Connor, I was gonna wait till after the episode, but like I'm watching the sequence right now where she does cut her bangs, and I can see the forehead tattoo. Like I can see it in this close up of here. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Look at this.
She might not have thought of that.
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick break, and Jaden, I want you to look and see the scene after, or on the ship if you can see the white tattoo.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Well, Jaden's gonna go do some research. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Jaden, what's the verdict here?
The verdict is that May has more hair in the shot where she's talking to Soul.
Yeah, the haircut, the bangs. May is betting the entire bank that her bangs will cover her white mark on her forehead, and that Soul won't notice. We'll see if that pans out, I guess.
I'm really hoping that the twin reveal thing happens immediately in the next episode. Otherwise, I'm going to be a little annoyed. But also, for the most part, this episode, the previous episodes, I think, for me, were a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, depending on the episode. And I think this was a 10 out of 10. It made me go, holy shit, this is awesome. The complaints I have had are nitpicky as hell. They're just nitpicky.
Yeah.
I think the action sequences are some of the best we've ever seen in Star Wars, period.
Yep.
I defy you to argue with me on that one.
Peak.
I think that the rest of the writing is still getting let down a little bit. We'll see going forward with the switcheroo plot string. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I think from episode 1, my stance has been we'll see how it ends. We'll see how this goes towards the end.
But then again, even if it ends, like I said earlier today to you guys, I think it's going to end really fucking cool. I think we're going to get some cool shit, but it doesn't necessarily excuse some of the bad pacing, some of the earlier, the bad shots, some bad use of CG, some really bad takes that they used, like line delivery stuff. Some of it, like, even though it doesn't, like, look, Return of the Jedi is not the greatest movie, but it's a really good movie, but it doesn't excuse its bullshit that it has, going on. It's kind of like I would look at this.
Now I'm curious what you think the bullshit is for Return of the Jedi, but we'll get to that later, I guess. We'll talk about that another time.
When I think of like flaws in this show specifically, I'm going to keep it specific to this show.
Yeah.
When I think of flaws in this show, like they haven't been like fundamental flaws. They haven't been like critical failures in just the concept or the execution, or just like getting the story across or delivering the set pieces. Like it's all been serviceable to excellent. I would say for me, like every scene of this show so far has been at the bare minimum passable and at the maximum amazing. So like I haven't seen anything that's made me go, that was dog shit. That was like, it's all been like it's been mediocre at worst. and then it's only gone up from there for me personally.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
that's
I generally agree. You guys have said several times now, I generally agree with you that the early episodes had some pacing issues. I feel like some things felt a little rushed, but the core qualities of like the major characters and their sort of their, you know, the way they interact with each other, the story being told, the action was the high point for me. And from episode 1, I thought May fighting Indara in episode 1, the very beginning, I was sold right there. As soon as I saw the fight in that cantina, I was like, I'm here for this show immediately. And I'll sit through anything I have to sit through to keep getting more of this. And this episode was a high point for me for sure, but I didn't need this episode to be sold on this show. I was game from the beginning, but I'm glad that like this episode had the payoff that it had, because it definitely took a hard left turn into like, you know, backcountry with some like wild over the top shit. And definitely worth watching. But like generally as a package, I thought this show has been like pretty solid to and gone up from there. So
I want to make it clear though. My complaints with the show, I've never said that I don't like the show. I think when I say that this episode, it brought me back in terms of like, okay, now I like this. I like this a lot versus before where I was like, where are we going? What are we doing? I don't really, I'm not sold on it 100%. I was never negative on the show in terms of like, but I was like, there are issues that I'm like, man, I would like, you know, I still maintain, and it's funny coming from this where I was like, wish I cared more about Jackie and Yord. Would have been nice to have like another episode of like development from them.
Again, I think it's the pacing. I really think the pacing of the first 3 episodes was the issue. That was the main issue. And I think having episode 3 be where it was a problem. I kind of understand why it's where it is at the moment, because I know we're going to get another flashback from May's point of view now. At least I'm expecting to, because that would be better storytelling. That would be good storytelling, right? So if we don't, I'm going to be a little shocked. But basically, I think, or even Soul's perspective, but basically, I understand why episode 3 is where it is. I still think, like you said, Jaden, it would have been a better episode as episode 4. If 4 and 3 switched places, I think the pacing for wanting to know more would be there a little bit better. But I also think that episode 1 and 2 are missing stuff. Something's missing in episode 1 and 2.
I think episodes 1 and 2 could have had an extra 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
On them,
and that's the thing.
Just to make me care about.
I'd
like,
be fine with that.
Show Jackie as like, oh, she, you know, Master, I've compiled all the lists of possible places the Jedi could attack, or the assassin could attack next. And, you know, Yord being all protocol-y and being, you know, his charming bad cop, good cop self would have been nice. And actually, and even I'm gonna inflate my own point here, but like, imagine like episode 4, Osha passes the fuck out from getting knocked out by the Sith, has a whole dream about the backstory from episode 3, wakes up to chaos of the Jedi fighting. And then in her mind, she feels like she's responsible for everything that's happening here by not communicating with May better.
Yeah, I would agree generally.
Yeah. I also think just in general, like when you said have like an extra 20 minutes, what the fuck's going on with these episodes being so short? I know, Jaden, you've said it now every single time. Every episode it feels, and I think this one too, it feels there could have been 15 more minutes of this one. And I think where's the money going? I want to just know like what's happening. What's going on?
Yeah.
We have a shit ton of cash. Where's it going?
30 million an episode is what they've said. Now this is the first episode I felt like money was well spent. I feel like the money was spent pretty well on this one. I know, and actually I didn't get to talk about this earlier, but like I guess they're using newer lightsaber techniques with this fight where the lightsaber blades themselves are actually lightsabers now. Where like they're light bars, so they're reflecting the that like the shadow, the light that we're seeing on the actors is real. That is the real light that we're seeing.
Nice.
Which is Which someone I saw a comment. Someone said that this episode was too dark, and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
I thought the light balance was perfect. I thought
it's brighter than the Game of Thrones episode.
I was just saying, as someone who survived the fucking Battle of Winterfell, that dog shit where they didn't light it well at all, and then tried to gaslight us, the entire audience. Oh, your TV's just shit. It is not shit. My TV cost me a shitload of money. What are you talking about?
Sarah said I can get an OLED TV, and I was looking at a 77-inch LG, and I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. And
that's awesome.
Happy birthday to me, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I'll rewatch it on that, and I'll let you know if it's too dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall,
that being said, I think it's the first episode. This has felt like the money was well spent in terms of choreography. In terms of, I just think that it's a little short to have spent $30 million on some of the other episodes.
I find it hard to believe that they cost $30 million each. Like that's a wild number to me. But
yeah, it's again.
What do I know about showbiz? So
29 of it is spent on, I don't know, CGIing Jar Jar Binks out of the shot.
Now, if Jar Jar Binks shows up, what?
What's Jar Jar Binks' canon age, haters? What is his canon age? We know Ki-Adi-Mundi's is changed. What Jar Jar's?
You know who might show up? If they don't put this in the show, I'm sorry, but you made a mistake. It would be fucking cool to see Hu Yang in this show.
Oh,
that would be fucking cool to see.
Not who I was expecting. I was expecting you to say Yoda, but Hu Yang.
I've seen Yoda is alive right now, so that
I've
would
seen
make
Yoda
sense.
in so much shit. Give me somebody new. Give me David Tennant. Come on.
Yeah, Hu Yang would make sense. He's a High Republic era training droid from the.
What if she has to make a lightsaber and Hu Yang's the one who makes it with her?
Ooh.
That'd be fun.
All right, interesting. All right, we're just speculating now, but I had fun. I think we all had fun. Obviously, here's to the next one. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's gonna be a lot slower. This next episode is gonna be a lot slower.
Take your time, please. Yeah. I think the last thing I want to say is, you know, we're looking at, like, we're basically halfway through the season, and I think a narrative surrounding this episode has been, oh, the haters of the early episodes are, you know, kind of looking dumb now. That it's like kind of hit its peak and it's like, you know, at a really high point and, you know, viewers are loving it. But like, generally speaking, I really think everyone needs to take a step back and look at their viewing habit. Like the way that people consume media, I think as a culture, we've gotten way too obsessed with jumping to conclusions about things and like looking forward way too far about things. Like it kind of reminds me, okay, so when I'm watching a movie with someone, and something happens that isn't explained yet, and they turn to me and go, "Who is that? Why are they doing that?" I say every single time without fail, "I know what you know. I know I have the same amount of information that you have." And the thing about movies is that when you keep watching them, eventually more information is revealed to you. So it's kind of like when, obviously this is different. This is a serialized weekly television show. So like, I think we're going to be left with questions each episode, but like, generally speaking, I think we all need to take a chill pill and like remember we're going to get there eventually. Just let it fucking do its thing. Let it cook. Let the show happen. And then we'll kind of take it as a package when it's done, I guess. But that's just generally like, yeah, just let it do its thing is what I'm going to say. Like,
yeah,
if a show doesn't hook you immediately, especially if it's like 8 episodes long, you know, give it a few. If it's a season of like 20 episodes, then, you know, if the first couple don't hook you, then don't cut your losses. Don't waste your time. But something like this, like give it a chance. You know, let it.
This episode got review bombed before it came out. So honestly, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I will say, like, to your point, Connor, you know, when we've gotten this age where like streaming services will drop the entire series in one go, and then the only thing people ever talk about is the first episode and the last episode. And there's a lot of meat and potatoes lost in the middle there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because like we all as a group went from, oh my God, I love it, the entire season's out today, to being like, man, I miss being able to talk about this week to week. Almost as if like it's you're sitting there like, wow, we reinvented the wheel of television, and it turns out that wheel was a fucking square when we had a nice, perfect circle that we could have used earlier.
We came right back to where we were. Yeah. I will say there are pros and cons to the different models. Like personally, I've never been a binge watcher. I've never been the type of person to like sit and watch an entire season in a one sitting. Like I've never been that type of consumer. But like, I at the same time, so yeah, there is to Jaden, your point, the strength of weekly releases. It's nice to like have discussion each episode. Like we have time to digest it, and also it fits me better. Just personally, I like to watch like one episode at a time and wait for the next one. But the downside for me is, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is the spoiler culture. Like people will just jump on the internet and like want to just throw shit out there when give me a couple nights to watch it, please. Holy shit. So there's drawbacks, but like generally I'm glad that we, Disney didn't do the binge model with this. It wouldn't make sense for this show at all. So
well, what's funny is they released the first 2 episodes, 3
True,
episodes?
yeah, 2-part premiere. Yeah, the first 2 episodes.
That what's funny to me is that it's been hit or miss with that because they've done that. They did that for this, they did that for Andor, and I think they did it for Kenobi.
Yeah.
And Andor hooked me with its first 3 episode release. This one did not with its first 2. I feel like if you're gonna do a multi-episode release, those 2 need to hit hard. To grab someone early on, and I feel like it's go back to just doing it one at a time. Just stick with the one at a time, because if it doesn't, then you're like, well, I just spent 2 hours watching this thing that I don't like.
Right.
This is so good for me that I finally binged the last season of The Good Place last night because I thought he did such a good job. I was like, let me see Jason one more time, and I just decided to actually finish the show. Which, fun fact, it's very sad. But yeah, I would agree. I like the week format. Like every week is fun. Because it's fun to be able to talk about it. It's fun to be able to, I do enjoy binging sometimes. Like it depends on the content. Like if it's anime, I want to binge anime. Please just let me binge anime. I binged Solo Leveling. It was great. But I think something like this, I really had fun with like Mando and all these other shows just coming out.
I don't think Game of Thrones would be as good if you watched it all in one setting. Because you can't sit there and like week to week plan out what you think's gonna happen.
But then again, I don't think Game of Thrones would be very good if it was just like 25 to 30 minute episodes anyway. But that's me.
True. I agree. I think Game of Thrones hits it at its peak. Before we wrap up, Kevin, what's your favorite Jason Mendoza quote from The Good Place? Because mine is absolutely when I have a problem, I just throw a Molotov cocktail at it, and just like that, I have a different problem.
Well, I think for me,
which felt very appropriate for this episode, because that's all I could think was just him like, I'm making new problems for the Jedi.
When I have a problem, I just throw a lightsaber at it.
Just like that, I have a dead Jedi.
When he threw the lightsaber with the trees cut and everything, that was fucking cinematic as fuck.
That was awesome.
I think my favorite Jason quote is Janet, because I had a crush on Janet, so she was always on screen. I was like, hey.
I did see someone photoshopped Jason Mendoza talking to his Ariana Grande poster, but it was Jackie, and it just said, "Oh, Jackie, we're in trouble now." I was like, "Oh no."
My favorite quote is actually about Jason, not from Jason, but like in season 2 when there's that montage of the characters figuring out they're in the bad place, and that one time Jason does it, like, I think we're in the bad place. And Michael just goes, Jason figured it out? Oh, man, this is a low point. This one hurts.
A low blow.
Yeah. This one hurts.
In the final season, when he gets like, he gets all his memories back and he's like explaining on what to do to everybody in the office. And they're just like, wait, what the fuck? That's coherent. And then he says another coherent thing. And they're like, what the fuck's going on? Hold on. I was like, yeah, it was good.
Oh, man. Anyway. Like, one last thing. Can we talk about the fucking range, though? Manny Jacinto, the actor, like, he kind of like
phenomenal, becomes
known for a goofy, comedy role, and then he shows up and just owns the fucking stage as Sharky. Like, goddamn. Yeah, hats off to him. He ruled this episode for sure. I think that'll about wrap it up for us. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please take a second to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us grow the show. And if you want to get in touch with us, share your thoughts on this episode, on the show, Acolyte itself. Kevin, how do they get in touch with us?
You can email us at thelostcantinapod@gmail.com. You can find us on TikTok at The Lost Cantina. You can find us on Instagram at The Lost Cantina. We do exist on the X. Same thing. But yeah, we're on the socials. We got the email going, and yeah, hit us up.
Well, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.